Hi, I have 4 different ideas to show you using the exact same layout, but using stencils this time to add color and texture to your cards. So let me switch, well, before I do that, sorry, I'm Donna Goodwin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Brookings, South Dakota. So let's switch cameras and get started on these 4 fun cards. Okay. So a little bit better view of what we have going here. So on this card, there's some texture using embossing paste, and the same thing with this one. Both of these are using embossing paste, and you can see both of them I used the shimmery white embossing paste, so you get that little bit of glimmer and shine. So a birthday card and just a note card to write to someone any kind of note you want. And then on these cards, instead of using embossing paste, I used a blending brush and I used them as just a stencil to add color. So let's go ahead and get started with this. All 4 cards use basically the same measurements, so you won't need to write them down, but they are in the description. And I picked them because it would be an easy way to do this. So this card, the card bases measure 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And then you'll just give them a good crease. So all card bases are the same. All card bases have the same mat size, which is 3 5/8 of an inch by 4 7/8 of an inch, which for those of you who don't like measurements, don't panic just yet. A piece of neutral cardstock for the inside of the card that's 4 by 5 1/4. Our focal point, let me bring this down here. Our focal point, which is this piece here, measures 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. Nice, easy measurement. And those mats, for those of you who don't like measurements, is just slightly larger than the focal point. I'm going to leave this piece out. And then for this card, I just need some scraps. So I'm actually going to show this card from beginning to end. But let's go ahead and I want to show you this embossing paste here. So I'm going to bring in the Melon Mambo. And then for the cards that I'm going to demonstrate, I'm using the Stamp Sets Go-To Greetings. I really like this because it's got lots of 4 different sentiments, actually technically 6 different sentiments, but 4 of them in 3 different scripts. So I really, 3 different scripts. So I really like this one. And then I chose to use Cheerful Daisies on this because I'm just in love with these daisies. Now the stencils. There are 2 current sets of stencils in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. One's called Artistic Mask. And those, get all this stuff out of the way here. So you have this nice little kind of a mosaic style mask that you can use with lots of open space. This one's a little more detailed. You could almost fit one on top of the other. You could. So you could layer these and do double. You could do one in one color and one in another. And then there's kind of a square and a more detailed set that, again, these also layer in on top of each other and then give you a nice plaid pattern. But then you also have this one here where maybe you want to leave the main part of your card, say white, and you want to color, just stencil this piece where you put in your sentiment with a color and then stamp something, or maybe this pattern, or they have these pieces that came out of it. You could, and I've done this before, you could take one of these, tack it down, sponge all the way around in different colors, lift this piece off, and then you'd have a nice white piece in here if you wanted a one-layer card. Same thing with this piece. This is not the set of stencils we're going to use today, however, but those are really fun stencils. The stencils I chose to use for our project are called Foursquare Mask. I call them stencils, they call them masks, same thing. And they're plastic, so you can use them over and over and over again. I chose this one. I need something dark to put this on. There we go. I chose this one because I just thought it was a nice, pretty pattern, and that gave us this. And then I chose just the plain old checks. I thought those were kind of fun. And then you have this one here, and this one here. And these don't exactly, you would have to, these do not line up like the other set of masks did. So I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to bring in the checked one. And I'm going to bring in some Melon Mambo. And I'm just simply going to set this down. You can really go to a lot of trouble if you wanted to make sure it's all lined up. I'm going to tack it in place at two opposite corners with some washi tape. And let's set that aside for just a moment while I talk about embossing paste. So there's two different kinds of embossing paste, and they come in the plastic bag, and then I use it to create an airtight seal. So you have shimmery white embossing paste, which is what I'm going to use. And then you also have just white embossing paste, and you can add color to that as well by, here's one. So when you're going to do that, you can work on any kind of surface that you can clean, but I really like to use, this is just parchment paper. It's just parchment paper from the kitchen. You could use foil, you could use wax paper, whatever you like. And let's just go ahead and pick a nice pretty color. How about fresh freesia? And you'll start, and you could do this with the shimmery white too. I'm just going to do it because this bottle's new. But I do this to keep an airtight, real airtight, because it'll dry out pretty fast. So, and I like to just use these crafting sticks that you can get, because then I don't have to clean them. I can just simply throw them away. So just take a little bit of this, and I'm going to seal that right back up because it does dry and get hard really quickly. Just when you want it to dry, it doesn't dry quite so quickly. When you're using a re-inker to change the color, I would start with one drop first. And then if you decide you want more, you can add more later. So this is one drop of fresh freesia. And just mix it together. And you can see that that's one drop is probably pretty true with this amount that I had. But if I wanted it a little bit darker, I could go darker. Now I'm not going to use this one, but this is why I like this. I am going to use it later after this video, but if I were done, I could just fold this over, roll it up, and toss it in the trash. I'm actually going to set it aside because and the reason I have it folded over is so that it doesn't dry. And then I'm going to use the shimmery white for my demonstration with you. Now this one's pretty old. You can also, where did I put it? You can buy, or we sell them and you can buy them from other places. You can buy these tools that you can use. They're plastic, so you can wash them and use them over and over. But sometimes it's just easier to just use these little wood sticks. It just depends on how much cleaning you like to do. So I'm going to take these little sticks, and I actually have one, and you're going to notice that this one's pretty dry. It's pretty flaky and it's pretty dry, which means in order to reactivate it, I'm going to need a little bit of water. Now I have some from earlier and I put it in an airtight container, but we may need a little bit more. And luckily, this is still pretty moist. But what I did is I just took some of it. And even though it's dry, I'm still going to keep it as airtight as I possibly can. And then just add a bit of water, not too much water. Just add a little bit of water. And use that water to soften it up and make it more pliable, spreadable. So basically all you're doing is you're thinning out that hardened embossing paste. And I'm actually going to take this other that was in good shape and mix it in. And before I start spreading it on this, I want to have a nice something to collect any excess. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to spread it on here. I don't even care if I get it even or not. I'm not going to try necessarily to go to the extreme edges of it all the way around. I could if I wanted to. I did with this one. But this one I just thought it would be, you know, let some of the checks get filled, let some of them not get filled. And then I can take that and throw it away. And I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to scrape as much of it as I can off. I'm going to toss that. And it's important to have, and there you have a really pretty one. It's important to have a container of soapy water nearby to put that in before it has a chance to dry against that plastic. And another important tool is a toothbrush from the dollar store so that you can use that to also scrub that. But while I'm just going to let it sit there in the water a bit while we work on the rest of the cards and set this aside to dry. Take that washi tape off. And we'll just set that aside to dry out of the way and work on the other card. So that's this base here. Now let's take the other stencil and work on this base here. So I'm running out of space. I'm going to set that up in this corner. And same thing, I'm just going to set this on. You can be precise if you want to be, or you can not be precise. It's totally up to you. Depends on the look that you're going for. And then take a little bit of washi tape and hold it. Take a piece of paper to protect your work surface. Now I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel for this one and a blending brush. I'm just going to pick up some Blueberry Bushel and I'm just going to put it on there. And you notice that some of it's dark, some of it's light. That's okay. I'm not concerned about that because I want that little bit of, now I am going to go from edge to edge, but I'm not worried about getting a smooth, consistent color. I want it to be a little bit different. So some spots will be dark, some spots will be light. And before I peel it away from, I'll just lift it up. And you can see that some of it is light and some of it is dark, but I think it needs a little more dark over in here. But it was still attached here, so I don't have to get it lined up. And then you have a pretty stenciled pattern here. Now with this one, since it's just ink, I simply take it to the sink and run it underneath water and then dry it with a lint-free cloth, and I move on. So I'm going to close up this ink pad and move it so I don't get it all over myself. Move that out of the way. And then I have some scraps here for stamping the flowers. And I love daisies. It's probably one of my favorite flowers. I'm using Bubble Bath and a sponge dauber. I'm going to take the background solid one, and I'm just going to brush some ink on the tips and some ink up at the top where it joins where the flower center is. And then I'm going to kind of rub it a little bit in between those creases. And let's see. This is a photopolymer, so we need our mat. And I'm just going to stamp that background, and it's really, really pale. That's what I wanted, is I wanted that pale pink on this particular flower. That one's a bit darker. I have some pretty harsh lights on this afternoon while I'm videoing this because I chose to do it right as the sun's coming right through the side window and hits the camera. So I had to close the blackout curtains to stop that. This one's just a little bit darker. I'm going to go ahead and do 4. And I'm going to put that bubble bath away. Bring in Lemon Lolly. And stamp the center of these flowers. These cute little cone flowers. Put that one away. And come in with Melon Mambo. With this Melon Mambo, whoops, I'm going to stamp off into second generation. Melon Mambo is a pretty bright, kind of a rosy red, pink. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp over that light pink. I'm going to try and do this without sticking my head in the camera. And I'm just lining these tips up with the tips in here. The tips that, because I was foolish and chose a light color, you probably can't see very well. It's really pretty in person. there's our flowers. We can cut those out. During the month of July, Stampin' Up! Has quite a few announcements that they announced last week. One of them being they added to the new online exclusives. And one of those exclusives, I'm actually going to feature I'm going to feature an online class in August with that online feature, and that's the horse and sleigh. But there's also some others out there. There's a really cute truckin' on that's currently unavailable, but it should be available again next week if they can get their supplies back in. They don't normally restock the online exclusives, but this one was so popular that they've decided to do so. Okay, so there's all the stamping. I can put that away. And then I die cut out the happy birthday with the label die from the Cheerful Daisies dies. And I die cut out the flowers. And then I die cut out the Fernie style leaf in Granny Apple Green. So this card we're actually going to put together from beginning to end. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this one down. They've also added a new kit called the New Blossoms kit. Really pretty floral kit. Yes, we have a lot of florals because we all like florals so much. And I'm going to mount this directly onto my card base. It depends on where you're at. If you're in a really dry climate, you probably want to just keep this as a solid line instead of smaller pieces like this of the adhesive. Or better yet, use liquid glue so that your card will stay together. Now for the inside, I actually just used these pieces instead of stamping. So I'm just going to take one of these little stems. I put adhesive on the back. So as soon as I can get it off of the adhesive, that's the hardest part. But this way I don't have to sit there and try to put glue on all these tiny little pieces. So I'm just going to glue that one right down to the bottom of the card. Actually use a dimensional on this one. Well, I did have a whole bunch of dimensionals here, and now I'm not sure where they are, so we'll just use the mini dimensionals. I don't normally do glued pieces on the inside or even dimensionals on the inside, but this card doesn't have too many layers, so I thought I could probably get away with it. And put our little cornflower down here and glue this to the inside of our card. And I have another little trick to show you on how to get those things all staying in the same plates when it's time to put them together. Okay, so I'm going to put some flower. I wanted to put some greenery underneath this label so that it just wouldn't look, because when you just add it on top of it, it just kind of gets washed away. So I wanted to put some greenery behind it just so that it would show up a little bit better. And again, the hardest part about this right here is just getting that backing, getting it to release from the backing, especially since it's such a delicate fern type of branch, leaf, stem, whatever we choose to call it. All right, there's a piece that can be, must have been a seam of the adhesive strip right in here. So we'll just put one kind of laying this way and another one going the other way. We'll let this one go the other way. Almost in a swag type of pattern. And then this one. Now when you're having a hard time getting these apart, your pick tool can come in really handy to just go from the back side and grab this adhesive backing and peel it off that way. Of course, now I have to get it away from the rest of the cardstock. And that's why I like peeling them this way, because it just kind of leaves all the little pieces there and you don't have to have little pieces all over. I'm trying not to tear this little ferny piece. There we go. Take out these little pieces here. Because when you have that adhesive sheet, they all kind of stick together. And I'm just going to take this third one. Oops, I got a deformity here. There we go. I'm going to take this third one. I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit more on this side because the flowers are going to be over here on the left. I'm going to mount this with dimensionals. I'm going a little long this time. I try to keep my videos as close to 30 minutes as possible, and this one will definitely be over 30 minutes, so I apologize for that. And I think right about here, set it on top of there. And then what I like to do is I like to arrange these kind of a dry fit of how I think I want them to look. And this time I definitely want to make sure I get my cone flowers going the right direction here. I kind of had them going up. And that helps the lighting a bit. And how about like maybe right about there? So my little trick is a piece of the press and seal from your kitchen. Just press it down on top of those and pick them all up together as one piece. And then I really need to find my dimensionals, my bigger dimensionals. But we'll work with these strips here. And I'm I'm just going to cut some pieces out of the side. And I want to make sure that I stick my dimensionals over where they overlap. That'll hold them together. And then when I peel this off, they're all together in one piece now. And it's much easier to work with it in one piece. Especially if you have a lot of pieces, like one of the other cards that I'll bring back in and show you again in more detail here in a bit. If you're enjoying the videos that I do, please do like, comment, and share. I love reading the comments. So we're almost done. A little bit of bling. Oh, and there we go. There are the dimensionals right underneath the bling. Okay. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, put my cap back on so I don't poke myself. Use the putty side, and I'm just going to grab some. These are Melon Mambo Glossy Dots. Pool Party, Crushed Curry, I think, and Gorgeous Grape. And let's do one more down over here. So there's this card, using a stencil as just adding color. Here's the same stamp set. This one, the base is Lemon Lolly. The focal point is not matted this time. I just left it as is, but I used the embossing, shimmery white embossing paste. And I'll finish up that one later because that's still just a tad damp. The stems here are Lemon Lime Twist. The sentiment is stamped in Lemon Lime Twist. The flowers are exactly the same. So there's that one. With this stencil, I did use earlier the shimmery white embossing paste, and I used that one with the embossing paste on dark. This is Blueberry Bushel. This mat is a little bit larger, so for those of you who hate measurements, you would like this one. This one's actually 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And then this sentiment piece here is 1 inch by 3.5 inches. Again, from the Go-To Greetings. And then for this card, I used the checks again, but I used Lemon Lolly and I sponged it the way I did on the card that we just did together. I stamped my limes with Lemon Lime Twist, first generation for the rinds and second generation for the insides. My leaves are first and second generation Garden Green. I matted it on Garden Green, put the whole thing, stamped my Have a Zesty Birthday in Garden Green, and then matted that. And you can see I kind of trimmed these down. This one's a 1/2 inch strip, and I trimmed this one down to be really tight. But I did start out with the bigger pieces. And this is all mounted on Lemon Lime Twist. So there's 2 with that and 2 with checks. And then I had told you and showed you how you could make that paste. I have one here. I'm not exactly thrilled with how it turned out, but this one was Melon Mambo into the white embossing paste to create a color. And then here I just used Orchid Oasis and I just smeared it on scrap cardstock and cut it. So it's got quite a bit of texture in there. I was trying to go for something a little different than flowers, but I'm not sure. I will do it again, but I don't think I'll do it in that color combination or that design. So there's 4 of those. I do offer classes here at the house on a monthly basis, but I have a new online class that I'm going to offer in August. And these may or may not be the cards. These are just the first 3 cards I've come up with the horse and sleigh bundle that I'm working with. You may or may not get these in the kit, but I'm offering a free online class in August if you purchase the horse and bundle bundle, the horse and sleigh bundle from me in the month of July using my host code, and the link for that is in the description. So let's see. Let me check my notes real quick, make sure I covered everything. I think I got, oh, no, I didn't. Bonus days in the month of July. Let's go ahead and switch cameras real quick. In the month of July, we have bonus days. So bonus days is wonderful. Not quite as good as Celebration, but really close. Bonus days is for every $50 that you spend, you get a $5 coupon. That's before shipping and before tax. And the $50 is based on the United States. For the other countries, you'll have to check what those are. If you purchase the horse and sleigh bundle from me in order to get the free online class in August, the description for that goes out to my blog post and tells you all the details is there's a link for that down there. That will get you a $5 coupon that you can redeem in August. So for every $50, you get a $5 coupon to redeem. And they've refreshed the clearance rack. So lots of things to look at for all of those. And I think you're really going to like this free online class. You do have to purchase the bundle from me. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you're in the United States, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And I'd love for you to join us in the online class in August. You get to stay right there at your house, and you'll get, it's in the post, but you'll get the supplies, consumable supplies to make 3 cards with that bundle, and 3 more tutorials to make 3 other cards with that. So I'm really looking forward to offering that. I hope you'll enjoy it. In the meantime, if you liked working with the stencils, there are 2 more stencil cards that I did back on May 5th using a die cut as a stencil. So wrong direction. Go ahead and check that out when you have a chance. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend and happy trails, everyone. Bye-bye.